pretty chalk, just like your Adams pick, but it is Mark Andrews. He's going right now. He's actually crept up a
He could
lot
have been one
lately.
last year. If you okay, before you get into it, I'll give you the floor, but this better actually be good because if Mark Andrews is going to be fantasy MVP, you're telling me he's going to have a insane breakout this year, more than he even had last season, which would be incredible.
Dude, I think all signs point to improvement in almost every category for Andrews, and I'm going to break it down here. His ADP, even just like a month ago, was the tight end 4. He's now crept up to the tight end 3. So at this point, like maybe this isn't a hot take anymore. I was all on the Andrews hype train last year, and he helped me in a lot of places. Him and Eckler just carried me into playoff runs. But what Andrews did is not only is he going to be a league winner, but he's also a super safe play. He fully solidified himself as a great tight end last season. The thing that puts it up over the top is that Andrews' upside is insane, especially when you look at Ertz, Waller, or anyone else outside of Kelsey and Kittle, and he's a big part of an offense that is electric. The Ravens were the highest scoring offense in the league. They led the league in points per drive, yards per drive. Lamar Jackson led the league in touchdown percentage at 9%. And Andrews led all tight ends and almost all pass catchers last season outside of Kenny Golladay with 10 touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns. For reference, Kelsey and Kittle each had 5 last season. Andrews scored a touchdown every 10 targets, and he almost got 100. And on top of that, he was getting
Can he sustain that, though?
That's the thing. He led all tight ends with 20 receptions or more in average depth of target with 10.6. Andrews was third in air yards behind Kelsey and Ertz, both of which had 40 more targets than he did.
Sheesh.
And what could really take him over the top is the game scripts and the range of outcomes that could happen if there's regression for this Ravens incredible offense. And I'm not a guy who's in love with the regression for regression's sake. I want to see a reason for why that regression could occur because I do think the Ravens could still be as good as they were on the ground, hyper efficient and just funneling volume to their backs. But if the Ravens need to pass, if they aren't as dominant as last year, think back to that playoff game against the Titans. They were down in the second half. Lamar Jackson had 59 pass attempts. And even if the game scripts don't go that way, Mark Andrews is still great. Alex, you've talked about this before on the show. The Ravens only trailed for 8 minutes and 44 seconds per game in 2019. That was number 1 in the NFL by over 3 minutes per game. He's only 23 years old. Hayden Hurst is gone. That was 10% of the Ravens' target share. I'm expecting the same, if not better, for Andrews in 2020 compared to 2019. And here's the last point I'll make on Andrews. His snap share was abysmal.
That's what I was going to bring up, Steph. How did you know? His snap counts blew my mind. I was like, how on earth did he have this good of a season when he was not on the field?
Like, literally, if you put him in that range of all the other top 5 tight ends, he should have 30 or 40 more targets than he had and should have been on the field 4 times as much as he was. He was only on the field for 43% of snaps last year. That was 67th amongst tight ends. I mean, that's nothing.
Wait, 67th amongst tight ends? How many teams are there?
Exactly.
That's nuts.
Exactly. That's the thing with Andrews. Where if he is on the field, let's say it doesn't even have to be anything crazy. Let's just say 70% of snaps, 60% of snaps. The ceiling is going to be insane because there's such a premium on every single one of the targets that he gets. He's an efficient red zone monster. He's used heavily there. And Lamar Jackson has used his tight ends. I mean, even in college, we were seeing him leverage those guys. So a lot of these younger quarterbacks coming in, they love using the tight end in the red zone. And you add that on top of the depth of target that Andrews is going to see. It's just, dude, I can make this take to just say take Andrews in the middle of the 4th because that's what I've been doing. But the reason I'm doing that is because not only is he super safe, he also has that upside to be insane this year, to literally be the tight end 1. So I love it this season.
Yeah, dude. I'm actually with you. The upside is there because you kind of came full circle. At first, I was like, I don't know. Like, you're talking about how efficient he was last year, but what if he regresses back to the mean? Wouldn't that make him worse? But the more I think about it, even if his efficiency does dip, I think there is so much more runway in terms of opportunity and volume for him because you spelled it out. The snaps were low. Hayden Hurst is gone. Hayden Hurst targets and snap share is now available for Mark Andrews to be on the field more. And like you said in that playoff game, we saw Lamar air it out, and Lamar Jackson only threw the ball 401 times last season. We could, if they're not as dominant, we are going to see them throw the ball a lot more this year, which is going to lead to many more targets for Mark Andrews. So Mark Andrews had 98 targets last season. He could like 130 targets. That seems like it's in the range of outcomes for Mark Andrews.
Dude, even 120.
Case, even
120.
Even 120. 20 more targets, 22 more targets. He could be a guy who gets, 70, 75 catches, 1,100 yards, and 12 or more touchdowns. And that's tight end one or two numbers right there. So
exactly,
I love it. And the sky's the limit. He could even potentially put up bigger numbers than that if all really falls right. So you got me there, Steph. I like it. I love this Ravens football team. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Interesting for me to see, their blueprint all season was to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. We saw the dominance from the ground game. We saw the dominance from Lamar Jackson, even the efficiency with him through the air. And then that playoff game, everything changed. And for me, if we come out through the first 4 games of the season and teams are figuring out Lamar, the defense is giving up some points, and they're playing from behind, and Lamar is throwing the ball
lost Earl Thomas
35 times a game, this offense could be ridiculous this season. I do expect them to be pretty dominant on the ground again, but little to no chance they're as dominant as last season, and that volume should go up. So I love the pick.